Good morning. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to deal with a problem that all of us who work with old rifles, especially that are new to us, that is difficult disassembly. Uh, some of the guns I have, like the Bertha that I just got, it's 130 years old, and I was able to disassemble it at least down to where I was cleaning it, which was to take it off the stock. It went really well. It was a rifle that was well maintained. They're not all like that. Most of the rifles I get are not well maintained, and they usually have some corrosion. One such rifle that I got was the Generalissimo, I call them, and it's the Shankar Shack Type 24 Chinese Mauser short rifle. Uh, what I've done here is I've already in the process of taking it apart. I had to remove the rear sight. The rear sight was somebody took a saw to it and cut part of it off, so I have to replace it. And because of that, in order to get that cup, because it's not cup, but the sleeve that it's held on with, in order to get that off, I had to also take off the front sight. And I believe there's a video about me doing that. So, okay, so this is the Shankar Shack. I bought it from Gun Broker, and it was $100 or so, a little over $100. It did not come with a bolt. It came with plenty of rust, and in fact, inside the barrel itself, there was a spider web inside the great deal. It was a great deal on a gun. Unfortunately, the bolt, it'll never be able to be shot because the bore is just too pitted, and so is the inside the chamber is also very pitted, and I don't dare shoot it. So I have it for display purposes, and they come great with plenty of display purposes. And I did a video on this gun too. So let's talk about how we're going to approach this. Take it off, take it apart, at least down to its, at least get the metal off of the wood. Okay. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take. This is not the original Shankar Shack bolt. You can tell that it's a rifle bolt. It's got a straight handle. So the first thing you want to do is open it up and look inside. Make sure that it's empty. There's nothing in the magazine, nothing chamber. So I'm going to take the bolt off. For those of you that don't know how to take a Mauser bolt off, there's a little doodaddy right here that you pull on, and when you pull on it, the bolt comes out. Whereas a lot of other rifles, you pull the trigger, which releases the sear, which allows the bolt stop, and it allows the bolt to come out. So on this particular rifle, the next thing I'm going to do is, if you look here, the band, this band that sits right here, looks like the X-Men band. That's what I call it. It's got a pin in it, and it holds it in. Some other Mausers don't have a pin. They have a band that sits here with a thing that sticks out that goes through that hole that holds it in place. But the Shankar Shack has a pin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that pin out. Pretty sure I've got everything I need. I'm going to use the rubber mallet on this just because I'm going to use the rubber mallet in a few minutes, and I didn't get okay, you can see the pins coming out. Pin is out. Now, a lot of times this stuff gets stuck, and it gets stuck for several reasons, and one of them is that there's rust inside between, because there's another band underneath this, and that band is the not band, but it's an insert that's used for the bayonet lug. So if that's stuck on there, it could be rust, or it could just be, sometimes it's just a little something in there that keeps it from coming off. That's where the rubber mallet comes in. rubber mallet for me is invaluable because I mean you can bang on it and you don't have to worry about damaging. I mean unless you really wail on, you don't have to worry about damaging even the wood on the on thing. So then what I do is I take the, yes you can see from there, let me just, and at an angle hit it. This came off a lot easier because well it's been while I was working on it. So then that comes off. If you're hammering on it doesn't work, another thing that you can do is put it back on. Is I have this plastic um, punch that I use for doing the sights in and out. So doing other things that I don't want to mar the metal with. So then what I would do is take this plastic one, put it right up against the edge, being careful not to, you're going to want to hit it gently at first, or just as much as I guess it needs, and it comes off. You can hit it along the wood, but so another place you can do it is right along the barrel, because you know the plastic's not going to hurt the barrel. So you can put it right along the barrel. Try and do this one. There you go. Or right along the edge of the barrel, and voila, it comes off. Now, if that doesn't work, and you're getting frustrated because you're trying to use the rubber mallet or use the plastic punch and it's still not coming off, one of the things you might want to do is you might want to soak it and try to get rid of the rust. So what you want to use is some penetrating oil. Where's my penetrating oil? And I use Kroll. The Kroll, and the Kroll, you just put the Kroll along the edge and it'll just wick its way down inside and will eventually hopefully loosen the rust that's in there that's holding the two things together. It works. I was not a big believer in Kroll, but as it turned out, it's actually a pretty good deal. Now, underneath here, you have your bayonet lug. That's what this is right here. But that doesn't affect the barrel. The barrel sits on top of it. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. The next thing you're going to worry about is, on the Shankar Shack, is the band. This is the rear band. And to get that off, you can use the same technique, or I just take it and wiggle it, and it's not going to wiggle off. So I'm going to use a little bit of the rubber mallet again. You can see it's starting to come off. And there it is. It's off. Okay. So there you go. There's the rubber mallet worked to get the bands off. Hand guard. Careful. Don't drop it. This one has a crack in it that I had to repair because I dropped it and it cracked. I mean, these things, the Shankar Shacks that I bought that you can buy from Gun Broker, are really cheap. You can get them for about $100 or so, and they're in really bad shape. They have not been maintained in any way other than maybe left out in the yard for 30 years or something. But my Shankar Shack looks better because, well, I've had it for a while and I've been slowly putting pieces of it together and blued the outside of the barrel, etc. So then the next step you want to do is you want to remove the magazine. The magazine is held on by two screws, one forward, shorter one, and one back aft, and it's a longer one. So I'm going to remove those screws. Now these screws are the same thing. They may be they may be rusted and you can't get them out. That happens too, obviously. There's the shorter one, and what you can do is you can try the coil. I put Croil, put it in my vise and let it sit with the Croil on it, and let it sit for a day or two and see if that works. Another way of working with these, trying to get these bolts out, is using stick them in the freezer, and when you stick them in the freezer, the for a couple hours, or I don't have a freezer, I have a little fridge that I have down to its lowest temperature. It's low enough that it'll freeze beer, so I guess that's, I didn't do that on purpose, it just happened. And so what we got now, we're going to take out this other screw. This is the longer screw. Now, at the bottom of your magazine, you've got this little trapdoor job. All Mausers, it's a Mauser thing. And there's a button that you push right there. And you're supposed to be able to just open it up so that you can get into your magazine without taking everything off. I'm here to tell you that on the Shankar Shack, that didn't open. It's rusted. There's a lot of surface area, and so it rusts shut. After removal of the magazine, what I do then, if I want to try to open that up, oops, it keeps coming up, is again use Croil. What I do is take, and well, here, let me take the magazine out. It just okay, there you go. So, and your follower. The magazine without the follower is just a big cup. So what I do is I'll take this and I'll put a little bead of Croil along the bottom of it, because, like I said, there's a lot of surface that can be rusted. And then what I'll do is I'll take and I'll put some Croil on the outside of it, and I let it sit. And you have to let it sit sometimes for an awfully long time. And then once you let it sit, I wouldn't recommend prying it open. But what you do is, this one I have not been able to open yet, because I haven't really been messing with it. But you just take and tap it. And to be honest, I have Mausers that I have not been able to get the little trap door open, period. I mean, I'm not going to destroy it trying to get that to happen. I know you can't see it maybe, but see along the edges, it's all corroded. So whether all that corrosion is going to go away and let me open the door or not, I don't know. But I mean, the side of the magazine has a bunch of pitting, and you know, these things, like I said, were not kept in the best of care. So the next step is what we're here for, what we've all been looking for, is the removal of the barrel. This is going to come out easy because it's actually been living outside its barrel for a while. This is one of those projects that it's not going to be a shooter. It's going to be a good-looking gun when it's done because of the cartouche on it, and just because historically it's going to be a nice-looking gun. And it's been very low priority for me, and I work on it a little bit at a time when I get the time, and I say, well, let me work on the general and see what else I can do. I still need to get the rear sight and put the front sight back on again. Anyway, so what you do is you take and you lift up the front of the barrel first, and oops, and then you reach down and you just lift it out. Easier said than done, right? I mean, sometimes it's stuck in there because there's also corrosion. corrosion gets down inside the wood. Most of the older guns that I see that have some, it's right along the wood line. It's where you see the corrosion because the water gets in there, or the moisture gets in there, and it just sits and it causes this to rust. So like I said, this is that was very easy for it to come off. One way that you can do it while it's in the stock is once again the old rubber mallet, and you take and hit the end of it with the rubber mallet, and hopefully that might loosen something up. You can go inside and you can see the rim of the gun. If when you open it up, you'll be able to see, and it's metal right here, and that's actually part of the receiver. What you can do then is take, once again, your little plastic doodad, put it on that metal rim, and just tap it gently to see if you can't loosen things up a little bit. One technique that I've never used, I've never had to use it, but some people have, is the technique of sticking this in your freezer again or in your refrigerator. And what happens is the metal contracts. Okay, the cold in the cold, steel will contract, and the wood won't. So it'll pull away from the stock itself, and then when you take it out, you do those things I just said. You bang the end of the barrel, try to loosen it up from up underneath, and they say many times that will work. It'll happen. If I know exactly where it's sticking at, like I know that it's sticking down here at the receiver, which actually normally it's up here where I see that it sticks. It's right here up near where the chamber is. I don't know, people may agree with it or not, but I take a little bit of coil. I'm a coil man, and I'll just drizzle it down inside there and try to release some of the rust that may be holding the barrel inside. Um, the this for the older rifles. Sometimes if it's an older rifle or even a newer rifle or an older rifle that's been used for precision shooting, whatever, then what they do is they bed the barrel, and depending on who does it or what does it, sometimes the barrel will stick to the bedding, and that's a whole nother problem that I haven't had to deal with yet. So that's bad news if it's the bedding. And they say that they can use the frozen barrel trick again, and whatever else that you might have to have. So anyway, so there's my Generalissimo without any clothes. There he is. And speaking of contracting metal, okay, I have to tell, I was in the Navy for 21 years, and we used to say, and people still use the expression saying, it's so cold that it'll freeze the balls off a brass monkey. Okay, sounds pretty. I used to think, man, that's pretty bad, for a poor monkey. But what it is the in the old Navy, they had steel balls, cannonballs, and they had there's this thing they called it the brass monkey, is where the balls went on and they came rolling down. You took a ball, it came rolling down, sort of like bowling balls, the way the bowling ball thing is. So that was the brass monkey. So what would happen be it would get so cold that the cannonballs would shrink enough that they would fall through these rails on the brass monkey, and that's why they got the expression, the freezing the balls off the brass monkey. Anyway, there's a little naval trivia, and that's the first naval trivia, and maybe not the last. I don't know. So, and then we got the same thing back here. We got the on the Generalissimo, we got the swivel, and it's held on by 2 screws. If they're corroded, obviously use the coil first. If that doesn't work, then go ahead and try the old frozen trick. I don't own, like I said, stand-up freezer. If I had to do this on a long rifle, I wouldn't be able to do it because obviously I'm not going to go buy a stand-up freezer just so that I can freeze my guns. But anyway, so like I said, use the oil on that. If you don't use coral, get some because it really does. It's a very thin oil and it gets down inside in cracks and crevices and helps move rust around and makes it so that you can uh, get out the screws that you need to get out. The oh, it fell out. Anyway, the this is the bayonet lug comes off. It's held on by a pin also. There's a hole in it on the end, and that hole is for the cleaning rod, which I will get eventually, a cleaning rod, and uh, and that's the how to get the parts apart on the Generalissimo. I hope that was helpful. Somebody had suggested that I do a video on this, and it's a good idea because I show a lot of old guns, and people do ask, well, how do you do this with the old guns, and how do you do that, and this is one of the ways that I do this. If anybody has any suggestions on better ways of doing things, if anybody has any suggestions on how they do it and how it comes out and everything's, then please feel free to leave a comment. Um, because I mean, we're all learning. Us people with older guns, each gun we have is a new adventure, and it's and that's why I'm in it. That's why most of us are in it. I think is for the new adventure and of course the historical value of the guns. And you don't want to destroy a gun trying to take it apart. That's that's not the way to go. But anyway, thank you for watching and enjoy your day.